The following may not be appropriate for all ages. Parental advisory suggested. If you are okay, however, with mild cursing and talk of memories, we invite you to keep listening.
Hello and welcome to Nerdvana. This is episode 2. And we are out with our voice guy today because he's on vacation, so I'm taking over for now. Yay!
It's so terrifying.
It is so much pressure. Anyways, I'm your host Lilith, and I am joined by...
Tachibana.
Meme. Alicia Ish.
And Epic.
Yay, Epic! So how's everyone doing today?
It's so hot right now.
Blazing Death Star sucks.
Why, Blazing Death Star? Why are you in Washington?
We hate you,
it's
Daystar.
summer, and it's wonderful and delicious.
Nerd. Bad.
It burns.
Sunscreen. Or Via Floridian.
I try. It burn.
Via Floridian.
What's that?
A southerner.
Oh. Y'all?
So to make sure this podcast isn't entirely Lilo and Stitch, let's head into.
Are we naked?
I guess we're naked.
We've got to be naked. It's the internet, right?
The internet has dictated that we are naked at this point in time.
Okay.
Okay. So just so everybody knows,
yes,
it's purely to cool down.
Yes.
Because of the Blazing Death Star.
Yeah, the Blazing
Daystar
Death Star
sucks.
So we're out David, our techie, and we're out Zombie Nick today.
Mm-hmm. But we gained 2 in
Apparently
they had much more important things to do.
Apparently.
Than talk about rape in comic books. But we have Epic with, his big guns, and we have the blue furry thing. Okay, blue furry alien.
Okay.
Alright, so in today's episode, we're going to talk about comics, comic books, comic movies, TV shows, the show Heroes of Cosplay, and the controversy that has started, as well as a few interesting articles and the fall lineup.
So yeah, let's start with the Heroes of Cosplay, since I just watched it yesterday.
Yes.
Lilith, do you want to talk about the controversy behind Heroes of Cosplay?
So for those of you that don't know, I know I posted up on the page, the reason why I kind of sort of told everyone in the group to make sure to watch the first episode is because there's a petition out now against Heroes of Cosplay. They actually have a fair amount of people that have already signed it, and it's either they change it or they cancel the show completely. And
change it for what reason, Lilith? Pray tell.
So when word started on Heroes of Cosplay, a lot of people were like, oh, so they're going to talk about, the conventions and how to make costumes and the fun of it and the passion. And, yes, there's competitions, but it basically talk about how it started and the vast community of it. And then an article was posted that was supposed to go on ahead and get people pumped for the show, I am assuming. This was also on the New York Post, and in turn it actually caused controversy before the show even started, and it's basically the article was by a woman who did not do any research, claimed that Yaya Han was our queen. Though she may be an amazing cosplayer, I don't think that she's a dictated queen, and she's even made the comment that she doesn't see herself as the cosplaying queen.
Well, I didn't vote for her.
Well, I to kind of jump into it, coming from somebody who hasn't read the article at all, I was just like, be sure to watch Heroes of Cosplay. I was like, okay, I'll watch it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the big thing is the show is, without commercials, about 48 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's about the competition aspect, which is fine.
Well, no, that's totally fine. I think they kind of get into... I think a lot of people expected it to be more than it is. And to be honest, if you watch any reality show on Sci-Fi, you pretty much know what you're getting into. I mean, I think Face Off is an amazing show. I am so glad it's on the Sci-Fi Channel. I do think that they will possibly get into... I think this is kind of a primer. Mm-hmm. The first episode was pretty much introducing... our characters, more or less. So I didn't think that they were going to get too much into how they go about building their costumes. Because if you know anybody who's on the show, they're also, except for Yaya Han, they're also, for the most part, more recent cosplayers, because when I watched the first episode, they were showing Vampy and Jessica Negri, and I was like, are they on this show? This is going to be amazing. And then they weren't. And we have Holly Conrad and Jessica of Crab Cat Industries, which I was really surprised in the first episode. They did the exact opposite of what they're known for, which is puppetry and large builds and animatronics and monsters and those sorts of things. And they go in and they do Dungeons and Dragons characters.
They went for cloth and makeup instead.
And they didn't even get a build done.
No,
they didn't. Like,
the horns didn't work, and they had to go and buy fake ones.
Which, if you've ever watched them before, they get really, really frustrated with short-time builds, and it looks like this is what they had.
Very, very much into it has to be perfect.
Yeah, so if they can't do it right,
the other lady.
Yeah. So I was happy to see Holly Conrad and Jessica on there because they're people that I follow in the YouTube side of things. Vampy's another one, which was why I was kind of disappointed that they kept showing pictures of her at the very beginning of the episode, and then she wasn't on the show. I was like, holy... I was like, Vampy's gonna be on this? Because she's so articulate about, like, how she's going through her builds just on her YouTube channel that I was, like, really excited to see her talking about it in a higher quality setting so I could actually see what she was talking about.
Right.
And they kind of get into it with the various characters about, like, how they went about building their stuff when they're talking to Victoria, who I absolutely could not stand, about her wanting to get everything just right with the embroidery and being like, Yaya Han does builds in 3 days, why can't we? And I was like,
because
she does not!
She can. She's done some.
Yeah.
But she doesn't
do a Lulu in 3 days.
No, that was she's done Lulu. And that was months.
Yeah, like...
Well, and on top of that, I'm pretty sure if she's like, I've got 3 days to do this, she doesn't go out to a bar and start drinking. She's like, I'm going to sit here and get it done.
She pretty much gave it up at that point. That was pretty obvious.
And
Furthermore, Becky, oh my god, Becky. Becky's everything I hate about cosplayers who show up at conventions who are like, I'm in this method act the character. I'm like,
I must be.
What?
Yeah.
No, you're there to have fun, take pictures with people.
I like that we had Jesse in it. Jesse is someone we actually know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He's a friend. We go to events with him, and seeing him in it and watching him and Chin Chin and how they work in private in between events to make stuff was cool.
I liked seeing Jesse against the craziness of Victoria and the more experience of Jessica and Holly.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jessica and Holly do have a lot of experience with builds, but they don't necessarily have a lot of experience with cosplay. So seeing him in it, just kind of like standing there and being like, I've been doing this for 8 months, I've been building this, and then seeing these people like stressing out about something that they're doing in a couple of weeks, and I'm just like, this is an interesting dichotomy of things.
And these people have been doing these kind of things for, some of them, 10 years, 5. In Yaya's case, 13 or more.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've been doing this 8 months.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, he had this little snippet of, Yaya's gonna hand me that best in show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hunger
well.
for it is being on the stage.
Right.
And you know.
Like, I would personally, when we go to SteamCon or other cons, take my stuff and go perform.
Yeah.
Because, why not? At the very least, it would get Nerdvana recognition a little bit, but I'd have fun with it. I don't want to win the cash money, but I want to go and perform.
That's the problem. Is this is a 6-episode docu-series.
So it's only 6 episodes that's going on with it.
So there's only 6 episodes on this. They've stated, and it was actually on IMDb, a quote from Sci-Fi, that they're only covering the competitions of this.
Right.
Maybe if it goes over well, they might do another
I'm hoping that they actually consider in, continuing Heroes of Cosplay and going past the competitions and talking about, and communicating with the cosplayers and actually doing their research.
Well, and I wish they would talk to people, like I was saying, who are more recognized overall,
right.
and some more beginners like Jessie, not just talking about the middle road, which is Becky and Victoria, in my opinion, where they've been doing it for a while, but they're not really, in my opinion, as recognized as Vampy or Jessica Negri or even Meg Turney, who isn't.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's grown in the past couple of years because of her
They're just kind of amateurs, just kind of playing around and everything.
Yeah, and they're acting like they're acting like they're hot too, which is what really annoyed me about Victoria and Becky in particular. Like Holly and Jessica are kind of like, whatever, we do it, and they make amazing things. Which is if somebody has never seen the Pacific Rim short that they did with the people who actually like built the Jaegers for this little short that they did on YouTube. Holly and Jessica actually built the kaiju for it, and they met Del Toro, and Del Toro wore the kaiju in that short. And, like, he was impressed by their build. So, they know their shit. And then you have, like, these two people that just go absolutely crazy over, like, a Merida costume that I thought was, like, something I could do in 3 days.
Right.
That was really piss poor. Like, the fact that she spent so much time hand coloring that wig, I'll give her that. Because that is the only way, really, if you're not going to make the wig yourself, that you're going to get that color.
That bright, yeah.
Yeah. But
the costume
everything else was just, like, half looking.
It looked like something that you could buy off of eBay.
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought that when I watched it, I'm like, did she just cheat and buy it off? Oh, she made that?
Yeah.
And, like, I understand she sounded
She's
like
more
Merida.
of an actress in it, but that's not really what it's about, in my opinion, which I wish they would have chose somebody besides Becky.
I'll give Sci-Fi this. Like, they're showing the different types of cosplayers. And they're actually... I'm happy that they have a male in there, because there's not a lot of male cosplayers. But because of the fact that they're only showing the competition aspect of it, it's actually pissing off a lot of cosplayers, because it's making it seem like we only do this to cosplay, or to compete. Not because we enjoy it, not because we...
Yeah, the only little bit that they really show of that is Yaya Han being on the floor. And they only show Yaya Han being on the floor. And then Becky's interaction with that little girl. And that's pretty much all you get from it, besides their stage presence. Yeah. And it's almost becoming like... It almost sort of felt like, to me, the Project Runway of cosplay.
Right.
Like, that's what that episode felt like, almost. I was just like, this isn't...
there's too much drama for me in that.
I really hope that maybe the first 6 that they're doing is just a teaser to get information out. Be like, hey, they do competitions. This is cool. Don't you like this? Would you like to know more? And then do another set of 6 that goes into what work goes into it. Why people do it, whether they like it, and maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, because for a lot of us, I mean, it's not all about the competition. You're not going out there to be best in show. You're going out there to hang out with your friends, dressed up as a character that you really like, or somebody from your own imagination. You're giving that character life.
And what I've talked about with my fiance Vaughn about me wanting to start to go to cons, like all the conventions that I've gone to before, I've never gone dressed up as a character. I've always gone in civvies. Street clothes. And, I've had fun, but I feel like I would have more fun dressed up because it's almost an icebreaker. I feel like every nerd that goes to a convention is kind of tense, and they're like, I don't want to talk to anybody else because I don't know if they'll like me, and I don't know if they'll know what I like or understand what I like and why I like it. But if you're dressed up in a character that they know and they respect from a show, then they can go up to you and start talking to you because they know on the surface already what you like and you enjoy.
Right.
It's like a big sign that says,
like,
I love Defiance.
My very first convention that I went to was NorwestCon last year.
Yeah.
And I went as a kind of steampunk newsboy, and I met a lot of really cool steampunk and fantasy sci-fi cosplayers out there that were fantastic. I talked to Dimitri from Tormented Artifacts and everything.
I love his stuff.
I know, it's amazing.
We talked about that last episode.
Yeah, and he said that he would he'd like to get in touch and actually collaborate on my costume a little bit. Try to get into it, something a little bit more intricate and everything, because it was like a newsy hat, some pinstripe pants, some suspenders, a red pinstripe shirt, and everything. But my big piece was I made this like steampunk gun and everything that was just huge, and it was beautiful, and I broke it, but. It was an icebreaker. So many people were coming up to us, and they were like, "Oh my god, I love your costume so much. Can we take our picture with you and everything?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
Yeah.
It's so much more fun
if you're so many more people. Like my friends Jordan and Jillian, who do the builds for Rise of Aster, for SteamCon and all this other stuff. They're more prop builders than anything else. They went to San Diego Comic-Con this year, and And Jordan did this amazing build, which I think I posted on the Facebook if you haven't seen it. He did a full headpiece of Hell 9000, which has been like spread around everywhere because it was just perfect.
Right.
And then he wore just like this sort of dressed up bottom that kind of matched the colors of Hell 9000 as a headpiece. And they enjoyed themselves so much more when they were in their costumes that were more recognizable than some other things that they did, like the Silent Hill nurse and stuff like that, which I guess they had to take off a lot of those pieces because it was so hot and those sorts of things, so their costumes became less recognizable. They didn't have as much fun. You know, they didn't have as many people coming up to them and, like, talking to them and stuff like that.
Right.
And I think that has a lot to do with extending your days at the con, too. Because realistically, if you go in civvies and you're going to a relatively smaller con, you maybe got a day and a half of stuff to do. Mm-hmm. Realistically, if you're not going to try to go to every panel.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're going and you're dressed up, you're going to have so much more to do because you're going to have so many people coming up to you. You become part of the convention.
Exactly.
You'll have people coming up and asking you for pictures. I went to Dragon Con a couple years, and the last year that I went, I dressed up as my elf. I had random stuff on because I didn't have all my gear. I was in AIT at that point, so I threw on some random... I put my elf ears on and went with it, and I wandered around. I had random people just stop me and like, what is this from? Like, it looks so familiar. Where is this from? I made it up. That's awesome! The first year I went, I dressed as a fairy. I made my dress. I did my wings, which were really, really, really crappy. I had a staff. I had shoes that had no traction. So there's these tiles and I almost fell into a guy on the steps, and he caught me. He's like, this is cute, and I'm sorry you almost fell on me, but can I have your picture? Yeah.
See, and I like that. I like that element of you know, just coming up with your own character for conventions. You know, I mean, like not something that's really well known, and people come up to you and like, oh my god, what's that from? Like I just made it up.
Yeah, like I want to do one of the ideas that I came up with yesterday was to do a cyberpunk Bride of Frankenstein.
Nice.
That'd be sweet.
So figuring that out, it adds there's a little bit more of an element of fun to kind of do mashups and stuff like that, because there's a lot more stuff that you can kind of figure out and have more fun with than if you're trying to stick to a character in its originality.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize about cosplays is you can go ahead and take like Poison Ivy or Raven or anyone, and you can steampunk it, you can cyberpunk it. Like,
steampunk Deadpool.
You can do just about anything with a costume and still make it recognizable.
Speaking of Raven, I just talked to you last night about I want to do a steampunk Raven for SteamCon.
Right.
And I know a lot of the Victorian era stuff has a lot of extra detail. So I was asking if I should make the little Raven that's on her belt have a little more detail. Not a lot, just a couple of extra layers, so it looks like it has wings instead of just a flat. And you can do that. And I was like, well, what would you do? And we talked back and forth for a little bit, and it was...
And that's the other thing, too, is that show kind of makes it feel like, because of the competition, like, you can't collaborate with other cosplayers.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you can have your own little group, but you can't go on ahead and, Facebook message... Tony Darling and being like, hey, I've got this idea for cosplay. I don't know where to do. I don't know, like, what I want to do with this.
like we talked about Stanthema's belt and how I knew I couldn't do it tooled out of leather, which is how it is on the show. Then we figured it was either embroidery or hand painted, and it's probably going to end up being hand painted.
And even if not that, you could get the fake alligator leathery looking stuff and get the really pale stuff and just fold it right, because it would have that same appearance, but it wouldn't be exact. You could paint the the trilobite thing on it.
Yeah.
So I think we need to actually have like just a straight cosplay episode.
Right.
But
I need help with that.
He's new.
I've never been to a convention. Ever.
This is like Alcoholics Anonymous. I think in this case you may want to talk in your real voice so it has some depth of... I've never been to a convention ever.
Yes.
His name is Tachibana.
Tachibana. I've never been to a convention, never cosplayed, and yes, I know it's taboo, especially being with anime, manga, you name it.
Yeah.
I have a few friends that Epic here knows, and they want me to try and attend AkiCon, sometime
That's
in
gonna be so
October.
much fun.
Yes, it's the same weekend.
It's the
as
same
SteamCon.
weekend as SteamCon.
They want me to go and try and dress up as Kankuro from Naruto.
Yeah.
Nice.
Only because they're going as Gaara and Tamari.
It's a lot more fun if you go your
In a
first
group.
time
With
in a
friends
group.
and-
Yeah.
Don't do like I did with my first LARP and get kidnapped. Like shanghaied in a car.
See, my
Doesn't work
problem
well.
isn't going to be the kidnapping part. It's they may end up trying to kidnap me after wrapping me in cloth to make me the dummy.
Okay. I want pictures.
You want pictures of everything.
Yeah.
Pictures where it didn't happen.
Exactly. That's it's
We have to get pictures
Picture
of
it doesn't
SteamCon.
exist.
What to do the
I'm never going to
Harley?
win with this one.
Yeah, like I think our plan right now loosely is to do the steampunk versions for Harley and Raven, and my other one that doesn't fit with that group.
But I mean,
But to go like that and just have fun.
and that's another
Yeah.
thing too that I'm hoping that they actually touch on, because they're going to talk about Emerald City Comic Con. I'm assuming for the next episode.
Yeah,
Like,
it's-
that's
they
the
said,
next con
yeah.
after
so
that first one.
since it's a Comic Con, I'm hoping that they're actually going to touch on to the actual like how so many people keep their costumes related to comic books. And with SteamCon, a lot of people are dressing steampunk, and
Right.
Yeah, it depends on the convention that you're going
there's
to. what
just
you
so
prepare
many
for.
different aspects and facets to cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you this, Ash. You know, when we go to like Ragnarok or SC or EMP events, technically we're cosplaying.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's all an anachronism.
if you
It's
do
you're
LARP
dressing
and you're
up.
cosplaying,
Yeah,
Yeah.
You are
if you're
costume
wearing,
and playing.
Yeah.
It's what cosplay comes from. It comes from the word costume playing.
yeah,
And for some reason that got turned into like some weird fetish, but it's costume play.
Hey, there's a fetish for everything. Are you kidding me?
I know, even pogo sticks.
Yeah.
Don't even want to go that far.
isn't that Rule 34?
Yeah,
Right.
if you can type it into the Google search bar and add porn to the end of it, you will find something.
Yeah.
But speaking of comics, I mean, all of
Oh God.
The perfect transition.
Hey, I'm going back to where we were talking about comics. We did hit on comic book characters because we have Comic Cons coming up. Emerald City Comic Con. We have everyone knows comic books. Everyone. They all know comic books. They love it. They read them. Most of them, even if they don't read them, they read web comics. They read graphic novels, and they read the other stuff. They know what a comic is, and they know the characters, because I know some people have never read a DC comic to save their lives, but they know DC characters. They
Right.
never
Yeah,
read
well, and it's-
Spider-Man, but they know who Spider-Man is.
It's the world and universe that we live in now, because the geek culture has become so like saturated all over the place.
Being
and
geek
Yeah.
is cool now, which
Yeah.
I remember
One of
being in
us.
high school
One
and,
of us.
people get
I know.
beaten up for being a geek. I never did because
Yeah.
people are kind of sort of...
I was beating up the people
People
that
were
were beating
afraid
up
of
the
me
people
too.
that were
It's
geeks.
it's okay, Lilith. People were frightened of me. I was scary.
And that's how I became a
I
geek.
made friends
I
with
was
the football
referred
team,
to.
so-
I was referred to. I wore 9-inch nail shirts, and I was referred to as a cutter by some guys on the football team. And I looked him right in the face. I was like this far away from his face, and I was like, "I could cut you," and that was it. That's where it ended.
I was nicknamed the Witch. I had a guy convinced I'd turn him into a frog.
Are you kidding me? I had goth people afraid of me, and I was one of them. I transferred to a new school up in Mount Lake Terrace, and the goth people are like, "You're too poor for us." I'm like, what the hell? When did rich, snooty people become goth? Confused.
Well, that's the new
Right.
goth movement, right?
Yeah,
now.
they're
I
just
don't-
like-
can we not talk about that? I
We're
don't wanna talk
too...
about that.
We're too quick to... Yeah.
Karl Lagerfeld was all like, "I'm gonna make
I had
dark clothing
this-
and black lipstick a fashion thing," and then
Right.
But-
then somebody clung onto it in the depths of the fashion world and were like, "New goth," and all it is fashion related, and there's
Yeah.
And
nothing
that's
else
the
that
same
has
thing
to
with
do
the
with the
geek
culture.
thing. Like, geek culture was so... Like, if you were a nerd, you had to hide it. Unless you had,
Yeah.
like, your little
the
pocket
high
protector.
waters and the Urkel pants and the
Yeah.
suspenders
Now
and
that's
the
kinda-
Pee Wee Herman hairstyle.
And now...
Right.
Pippi
That's, for lack of a
Longstockings.
better term, sexy. That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
So-
like, so now it's one of those things where nerds are having problems with faux nerds.
Yeah.
The,
Right.
and Guild has actually put out the little video. I'm the one that's cool.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
that I kind of liked it, and it was pretty cool. But it shows exactly how far it's come from being in high school back, say when our parents were in high school, to now after we're out and we have other
I-
little midgets in high school.
I just remember being in 5th grade and having binders of Pokemon cards and having the most Pokemon cards.
Oh god, I remember that.
I was not a Poke nerd.
And
Sorry.
I was in my own little group, and it was mostly other guys who had a lot less Pokemon cards than I did, but the girls never talked to me because I had Pokemon cards. And now, it's like, if you have, like, binders full of Pokemon cards, you better be wearing a bikini and being on top of them.
Yep.
Right?
Kind of like the whole comic, be on
Like,
top of the comic
would you like
book
to come
thing.
sleep in my room?
You never do that.
Have you seen my
yellow
cheek Pikachu?
It's right here.
Or the bras that have the Pokeballs.
See,
and-
I have no
controllers.
problems if people have those and they flaunt them in their own groups. I have done my own shoot where I'm on where I'm modeling with being the keyword with comic books, not on them, because I accidentally folded one comic book cover that I got at a half-price bookstore with my boot when I was moving my leg wrong, and I was like, I started freaking out. The photographer's like, it's just a comic book. I'm like, it's my baby. And I'm like trying to press
I
it.
could never read it again if it's bent in half.
I told my nieces, I said, if you fold any of my comic books, I will kill you. Like, it's one of those things
Death.
where if you model
It's like
on
the same
them,
way I am with like regular books.
exactly.
You
I'm like,
you
why
open it
oils
too
are gonna
far, and I'm
help
gonna kill
them.
you. You
If
grease
you're-
up
if
the
they're
pages with your
around you-
grubby fingers. I'm gonna kill you.
Have you seen my bookshelf? It's color coordinated. It's
I
very
saw
pretty.
it. It's actually pretty amazing.
But
Also-
it's like,
I was
but it's like
admiring
with
that
comic
earlier.
books and action figures and all that stuff. If it's around you, you're more likely to be seen as an actual nerd because you're not on top of them squishing the comic books and
Yeah.
ruining their freaking value.
Yeah.
Right.
In terms of comic books, did you know that Jerry Conway thinks that we can't have women in comics? That
Yes.
Diversity in
What?
storytelling.
Let's go ahead and talk
Did you
about that.
not read
I
that
did.
article?
Guys,
I did
segue.
read it, but what?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That, actually, we're gonna
Miss
because
Sonia.
Okay, let me
pretty sure they have
kind of
boobs.
go into the article,
Yes.
and I will read the first quotes from Jerry Conway, who, if anybody doesn't know, I think he writes for The Punisher. Yes.
Yeah.
did you post that article?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first kind of point is comics don't aim for diversity because it would weaken storytelling. Conway says readers are not interested in those characters, and comics reflect society. He goes into saying, I have 2 daughters, and if I wanted to do something that would embolden to a female, I would choose superhero comics to get the message across, mainly because it's so testosterone-driven. My daughters are not interested in the guy stories. And then he goes further to say, I think it's a mistake to sort of, like, pigeonhole superheroes, or to say so much of superheroes that you're missing the fact that it's a genre within itself. It's like saying, why are there no medieval stories with female knights? Because there's only one, Joan of Arc. It's an inherent limitation of the particular genre superheroes. That's how original comics were written in the 30s, and that's how we do it now.
That's a very staid statement. I'm sorry, but we're no longer in the 30s. Sorry, Mr. Conway, but if you haven't noticed, girls are nerds. We like video games. We like comic books. And
See, I have.
Welcome to the future.
yeah,
That's how we do it now, is just kind of an excuse of not wanting to. It's like he is so much in love with that's how it was done in the golden age that he's not gonna break from that, because if we try to do anything different, then it's not the same.
Right.
And your daughter.
And a lot of people have those similar opinions about comic books, and a lot of them are the ones who are all up in arms about the new Wonder Woman not having her golden lasso, not having her invisible jet, not having her cuffs, and that she's just violent and she's essentially a female Superman, and all this stuff.
They've been changing so many other superheroes all this whole time. I mean, shoot, Superman's obviously wearing his underwear on the inside now.
Did nobody notice that?
I know, right? But it's
I liked his underwear on the outside.
the whole
changing the
they're
costumes
pretty.
themselves.
geek culture is all about change.
Yeah.
Except
you
for
can't-
when they changed Starfire. 'cause-
Yeah, that's a no-no.
Yeah.
Well, I
But-
actually got in a conversation with somebody about the changes that they had made to Starfire, and they were like, because I was arguing about something about, like, originally how she was really naive. There was this naivety to her that made her Starfire, and he was like, well, towards the end she wasn't like that at all, and then they completely changed her, so it's not that bad. And I'm like, but
One of my coworkers at work, Jack, he was like, he pulled me aside at work. Because I told him, I was like, he's like, do you like DC or Marvel? And I was like, I like DC better than Marvel. He's like, oh, thank God I'm not the only one. So the next day he pulls me over to the side and we're talking about the new DC 52 and he's like, I finally got to Starfire. What the frack?
Yeah.
and the one guy was like,
this is not Starfire.
Yeah.
This is not my Starfire. I
Right.
don't even want to be on the planet no more. What? And this guy is, he's a good 20 years on me. I mean, if he's going, having the brain breaks in the head going,
yeah.
Obviously, you're kind of messing up here.
Well, they've changed a lot of characters with the new DC 52 reboot.
Yeah.
They have.
Yeah. Which I can understand over everything else. I can understand somebody getting more upset, and correct me if I'm wrong, over the Starfire thing than the Wonder Woman thing. Because the Wonder Woman thing, it was an obvious thing that needed to be changed.
Yeah.
Because for the longest, she was written in the Golden Age, so she existed as this kind of bonded woman, essentially.
Right.
Like, her powers were null and void if she was tied up, and, like, guys always seemed to have the say over what she wanted to do. Superman was always, like, putting her down, being like, no woman, sit in your place.
And now, essentially, she's become
no.
a female Superman.
She's got the same voice and power as Sarah does in Witchblade.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
She's kind of like, F*** everything, I'm doing it my way, deal with it.
Be a big boy.
And that's the thing that we need
We're
to
the
do.
same.
Put your big girl panties on, we're going.
Starfire, she went from being this naive alien person thing to just understing everything and trying to have sex with everyone, and the guy was like, well, she only tried to have sex with one person at the end of the first one, so you should really read more of it because she's not that different. And I'm like, what?
No, she's completely different.
She is.
Like, and also the new Harley Quinn. I'm sorry, that's not Harley.
Now, okay, so the Harley Quinn, first off, they changed her outfit.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually a statue that,
she has blue on her now?
Oh, no, it's the costume itself.
Yeah.
It's the fact that she's now wearing short shorts and this corset that's, like, not even properly tied in the middle.
Right.
There was actually a statue of her, of the new Harley, with her hammer on the old Harley costume, and it pissed off so many people.
Yeah, it was whoever did the new Harley obviously was the one who was like, let's do this statue.
Yeah. There's actually memes that go around.
The only way that I like the new Harley is on Jessica Negri.
Yes.
That's
See, the Injustice costume that they have for Harley Quinn, I love. It's the Suicide Squad Harley Quinn that I kind of want to... Then there was an issue where she's in, like...
Stick.
Yeah. There was an issue where she kind of looked, like a cowgirl. She had the cut-off shorts and the tied flannel shirt.
Thingy.
And then she ended up trying to sleep with someone. She did sleep... She ended up having sex with someone at some point. And one of the issues, I don't remember who. But, I mean, I stopped reading that series probably at issue 8 because I was like, I'm going to murder something.
Right.
Well, in the terms of females having sex with characters in the new comics, if you move on to Mark Miller in the same article, which we'll link these articles on our Facebook for other people to read, who wrote Kick-Ass, he goes into saying that rape is a plot device that is the exact same as decapitation, no greater implications. So his exact quote is, the ultimate act that would be the taboo to show how bad some villain is was to have somebody raped, I don't think it matters. I think it's the same as decapitation. It's just a horrible act to show somebody is a bad guy.
Wrong. No. You obviously haven't ever gone through it because
my thing is in this quote more than anything else, he's saying it is a plot device to show how bad a villain is. But if anybody knows anything about comic book culture, people idolize villains just as much as they idolize the actual heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And if we have a villain raping someone and that character becomes idolized, that's a big problem.
He's
That's
basically
a huge
stating
problem.
that rape is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that bugs me about that is there are some comics. I actually found one that was not put in the 18 and up section that most comic book shops have
Yeah.
for the more mature comic books. And this one had like tentacle rape and tentacle porn and nipple
hentai. We talk about it in the anime video.
Yeah,
not at all.
It was like in the comic book form, and I found it in the normal where kids can find it comic book section.
Tentacles aren't penises. It's
right.
But
still, I'm like, I don't want to see it, and there was actual sex going on, and I'm like, okay, that needs to be in the adult section.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with rape is comic books are also targeted for kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, there's violence
with the new 52, they're trying to promote them towards the newer generations, and then we have stuff going on in them that's
not okay for kids.
For anyone.
I mean,
it's not okay for anyone, but mostly kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
well,
they don't need to see it in
you
their...
You don't want an impressionable 15, 16-year-old boy idolizing a villain who commits multiple acts of rape.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
if you're 18 and up and you know better, fine. You're an adult. If you do something stupid like raping someone, that's kind of your thing. But to
raping someone is your thing. It's kind
of your thing. You have to deal with the consequences.
Yeah. Right.
And that thing. But I don't want my 8-year-old nieces
subjected to that.
Why is Silk Spectre? What's going on there? Why is she being raped? Well,
right.
I don't want them to be like, hey, Auntie Lilith, why is this going on? And then to find out that my niece was raped at school because a little boy went on and found this comic book but Batman did it, so it's gotta be okay.
Right.
We have villains that are, like the Joker.
Yeah, or
the Penguin.
Batman
I don't think
the Joker went on ahead and did this.
Because
therefore it's gotta be okay.
On the playground, growing up, you're watching, if you were me, you were watching Static Shock and Batman Beyond, and you're fake, throwing fire and lightning at each other on the playground and stuff like that.
Which apparently you can't even run and pretend to sword fight at school.
You're mimicking the actions that they're doing. If a character repeatedly rapes someone, do you not think that they're going to mimic those actions as well?
I mean,
they fake marry each other on playgrounds.
I mean, we already have stories of kids having the pretending to be a doctor or playing mommy and daddy. I mean, come on. If they're going to do that and they see it in a comic book, they're obviously going to do it otherwise.
Lilith.
Sorry. But
you should feed that beast.
But there was one point that my 8-year-old niece actually came up to me, and we were talking about online predators. Side tangent on that one, which I'm not going to get into, but she, I told her the do's and don'ts of being online and what information you do and do not give.
Yeah.
And she's like, but this person's my age. And I said, no, they're not.
Yeah.
This is some pervert in a basement.
That's a number on the computer screen. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that they're the age you are.
She stops and she goes, well, here's another question for you. Because, Mommy and Daddy asked me if I knew what sex was because I kept saying it. And I'm like, well, where'd you learn this? She goes, well, I had a boy that grabbed me on the waist and he started humping my butt at school.
Yeah.
And we were talking about sex. And I stopped her right there and I said, no, that's not okay.
Yeah.
Where did he learn this? Where are you learning this?
And we aren't educating them young enough anymore to kind of embolden the women to, and I'm referring to them as women because if you're going to have sex that young, I mean,
yeah, you've kind of broken the level of being a child anymore.
Yeah, and
you still are, but you aren't.
But having somebody to come up to you and perform an act like that on you, they don't know that that's sexual harassment. They don't know that that's sexual assault. They don't know those words.
Right.
They don't know that. They don't know that if it feels kind of funny, it's probably wrong.
Well, that goes into the whole parenting thing. Is parents need to actually be parents and not rely on TV to teach their kids.
But they also assume that the schools are doing it.
Yeah. But
which they're not.
If we aren't, it's pretty obvious that you don't get any proper real education on that kind of thing. Why would you put it into a comic book?
Yeah.
Right.
Geared for children.
Well, and I almost feel like there was the comics grading system, and then they kind of went away with it because it kind of became something that it wasn't supposed to be, sort of thing. But it almost needs to, and in literature too, it almost needs to be taken a lot more seriously because we're having kids read stuff like Twilight and weird vampire sex when they're like 13, and they're trying to commit similar acts because they're they're mimicking it.
Right.
I mean, it's
how
what's
people
happening.
learn.
They're mimicking what they're reading, what they're seeing, what they're hearing about.
Because that's how you learn.
Yeah.
You learn by mimic. When you're a kid, you learn how to do things because you watch your parents do it, and they're like, "Oh, okay, so this is how you turn on a light switch. You do this." You aren't born knowing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, it's not saying stuff like the guys are saying. That's not okay.
Yeah.
That's not even. Oh, yes.
All right, so we kind of got angry on that one, like very angry.
There was a little bit of shouting.
So we're gonna post that article up onto our page so you guys can all see it. Post your opinions.
Get equally angry. Disagree with us.
Write hate mail. Just no
let
death
the
threats.
nerd rage
internet.
burn. Let
Yeah,
the
be
nerd
the
rage
internet.
burn.
Just please no death threats. I don't want to have to get the posts on like death threats and have to tell people no.
Yeah.
So going into our last article we're going to talk about is Vin Diesel and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. He's gonna be Groot. Grot.
Groot.
That one.
Groot.
Little raccoon character.
Groot, the raccoon, who apparently has love interest with Treebeard. Which was why everybody was like questioning who his character was going to be, because he was saying that there was going to be this really interesting relationship that he was going to build off of, and all these like different hints and stuff like that. Turns out he's a raccoon who's in love with a tree. Stuff.
Interesting relationship.
Well, and the thing is that I noticed is like when I heard about it, I'm like, Guardians of the Galaxy. It sounds familiar, but it's not that well known.
No,
Right.
I
it
even
was a
asked my
very-
dad about it. I was like, "Hey, Dad, because I know you read like the Marvel stuff and stuff. So like, what's this Guardians of the Galaxy stuff that's gonna happen before the next Avengers movie?" And he's like, "I have no clue."
It was a very not well-known series. It was very small.
Yeah,
Very small.
yeah, and it's more of an introduction into what's his face anyway.
Yeah.
Words.
French, English,
The
have
bad
dumb.
guy. The bad guy in it. Starts with a T.
Oh God.
Help me.
It's not Thanatos.
I don't know. Like, I don't.
Do I need to Google this?
I don't. I feel so bad now, and the internet will hate me
Guys,
forever.
comment on our Facebook page with that answer, because we really kind of are brain dead right now. So
Hold on.
the nakedness and the power of the boobs has
Yeah.
vaporized our brains. Actually, no, it might be the power of the Pinor here. It's about even.
It's pretty even.
Yeah.
I mean, I
It's
think
3
the
and
only
3.
thing I'm excited about in that movie is the actress who plays Amy Pond being. And now I'm forgetting the other character's name.
If any of our listeners know Guardians of the Galaxy,
She had to shave her head for the role.
Send us a link.
And the character
Through the
is
list.
like blue or purple or something.
Pretty colored.
See, according to solid source at Den of Geek, Del Toro will play the Collector, an ancient being with knowledge of Thanos. Pace will play Ronan the Accuser, an old Fantastic Four villain and a member of the alien race of the Kree. And Gillen will play Nebula.
Yes.
Gillen.
Yes,
Karen
Nebula.
Gillian.
Gillian.
Yeah.
Yes, Nebula.
A
That's
brutal
who she's
space
playing.
pirate and mercenary.
I was gonna call her Galactica or something for some weird reason.
It's because
it's
you watched
related.
you saw
So-
Heroes of Cosplay?
Yeah,
the,
there's-
the Galactus one.
There you go.
So yeah, there's that.
There we go.
And she has
Thank
red
you
hair.
for the words and stuff.
Thank you, Google.
Thank you, Google, for fixing the
I think I like
English,
Karen-
because we have the
Karen
dumb.
Galacta much better than Karen Gillian.
But I think I think the movie will do well, similarly to the reason why I think Thor did pretty well. Because, granted, Thor is better known than Guardians of the
a long
Galaxy.
So
Right.
he's not as well
But
known as
he's not as well known as the Avengers. He's not as well known as Hulk. He's not.
or
He's
Spider-Man.
known
Right.
as
or-
being part of the Avengers.
Yeah.
But he was
I mean,
always
you know,
an obscure character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's like Iron Man and Hulk.
He was the
Yeah.
blonde-haired hippie guy
Yeah.
with
Right.
a hammer.
Yeah.
And
So I
who
think
was
that
sometimes a rock star.
movie was a lot better or more accepted overall because of the fact that not everybody was in love with Thor
Right.
as a part of the Avengers. Everybody had a hard on for Iron Man.
Right.
So people
Tony
got more
Stark.
grumpy about how those characters were represented.
Yeah.
So I think Guardians of the Galaxy will have success purely because I don't think tons of people are going to go run and see it unless everybody is pretty much told you won't get the Avengers next movie if you don't see this movie.
Right.
Well, and that should also, once people see that and they're like, it's a comic book?
Yeah.
They're going to go out and try reading the comic books.
Yeah.
And
if they can find it.
Yeah, well, there's places where you can find it.
Well, and they're probably doing, like, reprints. Or,
Right.
like,
Yeah, they're going to be doing
the movie
reprints.
versions of it and stuff like that.
With the movie covers. And,
yeah.
they're probably going to do a reboot on it if they haven't already.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I'm not too keen on the whole reboot stuff because it seems like it's an escape if you wrote poorly.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I wrote poorly. Reboot.
I do prefer, though, and I mean, we've talked about this before, I do prefer that they have redone Spider-Man. Yeah. I am a little bit grumpy that they're gonna be introducing Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver over trying to work something out with Sony, because I know they've been hinting at that, and I guess it's just the unrealistic nerd in me that's like, oh, maybe they can work something out, but money.
Right.
So they're not going to cave to Disney and be like, okay, well, I guess we'll let you have Spider-Man for this much.
Yeah.
They're just going to be like, you can't afford Spider-Man. And sit there and be like,
to be shot down.
Sony will just
Disney
be like
has
this.
pretty much
all the time. All the time, everywhere.
Well, and that's the thing is Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are X-Men, so how is that going to work if they're going to be part of the Avengers?
Yeah.
Right.
What kind of crossovers are they going to do movie-wise with that?
And Quicksilver at one point was Brotherhood, so...
Yeah.
It's kind of that, well... Let's see!
Yeah.
It's up in the air.
So,
how's the cookie going to break?
Well, we've got, the new Thor movie coming out.
Which...
Right. It looks amazing.
Oh my God.
I want to see more Thor. I need to see more Loki, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because if there's Thor, there's Loki, because they have a hard-on for
There's a new Captain America that's coming out.
Man.
Yeah, Steve Rogers. And maybe Bucky. They might do Bucky.
I'm kind of hoping...
I thought Bucky died in the first one.
Yeah,
yeah,
they might
he comes
go
back
more
as Winter Soldier.
Some backstory on it.
Well, they kind of have to... After his death, they kind of, for the people that don't know, they have to do some sort of backstory on how Bucky became Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Right.
They've got to kind of fix that because not all of us, sit back and read the comic books and, know that story by heart. A lot of us are like, I know him became him and...
I know this and this. I know the basic storyline of the main character.
The middle's kind of fuzzy.
Right.
Well, and then... So, I will admit, I cried when Coulson died.
Right.
Yeah, he was a good character.
Every time I see it, I'm like, Coulson! So, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson's in it.
Yeah.
Right.
How are
Fury.
they introducing him?
With
the death.
If I remember correctly, the death wasn't a death, so he actually didn't die. I don't know, I haven't actually figured that out yet.
So what we're talking about is Hero from Heroes time traveled, and there's a crossover there, and then he brings Coulson back.
Right.
No, from what I've seen about it looks more like it's before the Avengers movie.
No, it's... because they go ahead and they touch on the actual Avengers.
Well, yeah, they could touch on it, but remember, in the Avengers movie, they had, before everyone banded together, they had disbanded the Avengers Initiative, and then, when Loki and all the enemies started attacking, they brought the Avengers back in, so it could be, remember, it is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
It's not the Avengers.
Well, I understand that part. But
I think it's a mid-story between the two.
It could be. It could be that in-between point where they kind of touched on the Avengers movie, but didn't really... Because it's a movie and it's about the Avengers, it's not about S.H.I.E.L.D., they didn't have time to touch on it.
Yeah, I guess we will just have to see.
Yes.
Right.
We need to have a sit-down night where we're all sitting in front of the TV of...
Holding on for dear life,
Come
apparently.
on, don't you dare kill him! Don't you dare! Not the first episode.
Mr. Fishy, no!
Alright, manly men. Manly men. Doing manly things.
Anyway.
Yeah, there's no real information. So, I mean, we'll figure out from the series itself, when it actually takes place.
And I think I'm
What
the only
exactly
person in the room
going to
who's
happen?
excited for the next Spider-Man movie because I really like Andrew Garfield.
I
as Spider-Man.
love
That's gonna be
Andrew
a good one.
Garfield as Spider-Man. I am so excited for the next Spider-Man movie.
He actually is Peter Parker.
right.
He's a little bit of a douchebag.
Yeah, he's really sarcastic. He
teenager.
plays around.
Come
He
on.
makes fun of his enemies. That's what
Yeah.
Spider-Man was all about.
Yeah.
You know, he's like,
He
oh,
was
hey.
a whiny
just,
little.
right. I know, he wasn't
He
some
is
emo
not
kid,
a whiny
Toby.
emo boy. No,
I remember somebody looking very sad, being like, "I disagree completely. I love Tobey Maguire."
Although,
No, he doesn't even like Tobey Maguire.
if they make Venom sound like a damn used car salesman again, I'm gonna shoot somebody.
I don't think they're even going to try to do
No,
that.
I don't think
so
they're going to include it
I
in
don't
this
think
one.
they're going to
Yeah.
touch it with a 10-foot pole because it went so badly the first time.
They,
Well,
they
yeah,
did it
Venom
poorly.
was not a used car salesman.
You
did it very
can't
poorly.
get
He was a
Eric Foreman to
psychotic
play
freak.
Venom. I mean, come on.
The only person
Somebody who's
worse than
already
Venom
have
was
that.
Still
Harley.
upset about
Yep.
the first remake of Spider-Man. About the Oscorp making the webs and stuff. When
Yeah.
Right.
the original comics and everything, he was actually making the webs themselves and
Mhm.
the applicators and whatnot. Now,
Yeah.
I'm trying to bridge the gaps. Like, okay, Spider-Man's going to get a bunch of this web. He's going to probably end up ordering it from Oscorp. Aren't they going to put something together a little bit?
Put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
It's like, look, our webs
You
are being
would think.
used. Maybe someone's buying our stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of just messed me a little bit. I
But
did like
he
the
is-
fact they brought Gwen into it instead of Mary Jane.
Gwen Stacy's death is
Right.
going to be amazing in the second one. I can just...
Ooh.
I love the article
Feel
that
it.
popped up about it, though. They're like, Gwen Stacy dying? I'm like,
Spoiler
spoiler alert!
alert!
I'm like, of course she dies. She dies in the comic book. She's gotta die because, and yet.
And he lets go
Happy
of her and he
going.
can't
Right.
hold on to her, and that's gonna be a thing. And then Andrew Garfield might become an emo bitch, but he
See,
might just become like
now-
emboldened by it. But
Right.
He's gonna cry.
He's gonna be
We're all gonna
Batman.
cry.
he's all gonna cry. We're all gonna cry.
We're all gonna cry, baby.
Tears
Batman.
of sorrow for Emma
Sure.
Stone as
I
Gwen
didn't
Stacy.
know she was going to
He won't
die.
be emo kid.
Thank you!
Spoiler
He will not
alert.
turn into emo
Yeah, all I
kid.
know is they made
He will turn
like
into
one of the
Batman.
comics they talk about a
He will
clone
be
of her. I didn't know
emboldened
she
by
actually died.
Yeah,
Thank you.
she.
He'll turn into Nightwing.
Well, for those of you that don't know, Gwen Stacy dies. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, you'll find out. You don't know how yet, so
Yeah, but still,
Yeah.
it's,
you know it's gonna happen.
Jamie
Find
Foxx
out how.
stares at her.
now,
Right.
now I'm gonna have to wait and see how it happens. Now that I know she's gonna die.
I like their
Oh,
choice.
but I can tell you
I like their
exactly how
choice
she
of Jamie
dies. Do you
Foxx.
want to
Don't.
know?
That was-
Do you want to know?
Don't.
Do you want to know?
I will get chopsticks and I will make you
Do you want to
pay.
know?
I will find out. What?
Nope.
Anyways, so
Chopsticks.
briefly, let's touch on the fall lineup just briefly, like just a few
briefly.
shows.
Just briefly.
Just a few shows
Just
we're
briefly.
looking forward to.
Do you want to know how excited I am about this Dracula business?
Yes.
Because I'm pretty excited about this Dracula
I can tell by
business.
your hand movements.
By
What?
my voguing. I mean, I think it's going to be good, mainly because the people from Tudors will be writing for it. And there were things that I didn't like about Tudors and the fact that it was too glossed over, but I think Dracula can be as glossed over as they want it to be, because it's romantic novella, you know,
It's Dracula.
bubbly greatness.
Are they gonna speak
So-
in Spanish? And are we gonna have like Enrique is in love with someone
No,
else?
I
Please
think we
don't.
can kind of not do
You
that.
said novella,
But,
so I'm like, I thought Spanish novella.
So I am excited for that. I am excited that is going to be happening. And sorry, somebody is distracting me right now, so I'm kind of like half talking.
So what about the Sleepy Hollow TV series?
Oh, I
pretty
want to burn
I
that
haven't-
in a fire.
I haven't even seen anything
I'll give it a
about it yet.
shot.
I'll give it the same rules that I gave Heroes of Cosplay.
Well, okay.
3 episodes to be good.
Here's the thing. We have the amazing crime-solving drama with Nathan Fillion on
Right.
TV right now of
Castle.
Castle.
I love
Like,
Castle.
It's
So awesome.
it's everything it should be, and Nathan Fillion is Nathan Fillion.
love
Nathan
Nathan
Fillion
Fillion.
plays Nathan Fillion in Castle, in case you were wondering.
I love how
Um,
they just briefly. I love how they have their comedic moments in every episode.
Oh well,
But
they
when
have
you
their
like,
nerdy stuff too.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Castle's a big friggin'
But
nerd.
there's occasionally you have like 3 or 4 episodes that to be continued. They don't do the to be continued, but one episode right after another, and they have those so serious sudden moments.
Yeah.
Like spoiler alert, with Beckett's mom.
Yeah.
You know, and how that actually doesn't encompass just a few episodes in one season. It encompasses so much in the entire series.
Yeah.
And you have those so serious moments where there's barely any comedy, but they still throw in just a little bit.
Yeah, but
then
I think you're fighting very hard against something like that right now, to be bringing in a serialized crime drama that revolves around this horror entity.
Right.
I think is going to fail epically, mainly because the other TV show that kind of exists in the same universe right now is Grimm.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And
Not
so you're
like
competing you're competing against these two serialized crime related dramas. I don't think it's going to last more than a season. I don't.
What do you think about Once Upon a Time in Wonderland?
I think Once Upon a Time in Wonderland is going to fizzle out very quickly because it doesn't exist in the same universe completely. I think they're going to run out of things to talk about very quickly, and I think it'll hit the same kind of brick wall that I think Grimm is starting to run into, but kind of working around, is that it's going to have the same kind of characters that they run into over and over again, and they're going to run out of things to say about them.
Hey, to be
I've
fair,
only
if I
ever
hit a
seen the
brick
first-
wall, that brick wall's getting
the first
dented.
season, most of the first season, and I like trying to figure out the whole.
Yeah.
You have to try and figure out who the characters are, and I've had like 3 wrong guesses. I'm like, no, that has to be that. What? What? No.
But
okay,
in this
okay, I can
universe,
get- okay.
in this universe, they're existing from all of the stories.
Yeah.
In the original Once Upon a Time. In this one, it's Wonderland, and unless they start to bring in other stories, they're
They'll
just
have
gonna
to, but
run
there,
out
there
of stuff
wasn't
to
much
say.
to do in Wonderland. I haven't watched Wonderland yet, but
I don't.
I remember
Once
the
Upon a Time in
original
Wonderland
story.
Isn't out yet.
It comes out in fall.
Yeah, it's fall lineup.
It comes out, I think, actually.
That's why
a
we're
few
talking
days-
about fall lineup right now.
It actually comes out in October.
TV. Shush.
I believe it actually airs in October.
Yeah, I
right
think
around
it-
season
Halloween.
3.
So I can
Yeah.
crash on your couch and watch TV with you when it comes out, please. Because I don't have an actual TV.
Possibly.
Possibly.
I don't know. It depends on
Somebody
what day.
lives
in the
nearby.
But yeah,
nearby us needs to like set up a TV room.
I don't know how long they're going to be able to extend those stories. Because if you've ever watched anything else related to Alice in Wonderland, it's typically the longest they can extend it is miniseries, which the sci-fi version of Alice was pretty good on first watch.
It was-
Upon rewatches, it's kind of surface and very dry, and I think
Yeah.
that's the problem with redoing anything Alice. It's going to be very surface and very dry unless you can kind of
It just-
embolden it with something.
It doesn't last very long because he only wrote the
Yeah.
2 stories. And
Yeah,
it,
you have to take it as the surface is what it is, and then do something different with it. Those
Exactly.
are the only times that it's
Twist it.
been successful. Like Malice in Wonderland, that has what's her face in it. It's an English indie version of Alice in Wonderland, and it's very, very good. It's on Netflix if nobody's ever seen it. I can't remember the name of the actress who's in it, but she's awesome in it. And they really twisted around into this weird drug underworld kind of thing in England, and she's trying to find her real mother and all this other stuff that's going on in it. But I think existing in its own original storyline, you're gonna struggle.
yeah.
What's the name of it one more time? What's the name of it one more time?
Malice in Wonderland.
Gonna watch that tonight.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
good.
there's Malice in Wonderland, Once Upon a Time in Wonderland.
Alice. So many.
Yeah.
freaking
I'm sorry.
Alice
Well,
in
and then there
Wonderland.
was the original retelling of Alice in Wonderland that was on ABC that I actually thought was very good because they had
Yeah.
Alice as a young girl in it, and she was wearing a yellow dress, which I think is what she wears in Through the Looking Glass, as a yellow
Yes.
dress
Right.
in the story. So it's more accurate than any of the other retellings out there, in my opinion. Because they also include stuff like the tortoise and those things. I don't think the wasp is in it. The only time that I've actually seen the wasp in a retelling was in a British version with Kate Beckinsale, which is a really weird one. Yeah. Don't watch that one.
The original Alice was a brunette from the drawings.
Yeah.
So
Right.
she only got changed to a blonde later,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is weird.
Thank you, Disney.
Yeah, just
Anyway.
There's also Beauty and the Beast comes back. Arrow season 2 comes
I
back.
want to see
Yeah.
that one.
I am going to. I only watched the first 2 episodes of Arrow.
It gets so much better after that.
I feel like I need to watch more of it because in all the reviews that I've heard that it's like after episode 4 that it gets really
picks up.
It's like the first 4 episodes,
which I feel
really slow.
Similarly about Hemlock Grove, and I know everybody was disappointed by it, but it's
Barrowman
like
is a bad guy.
But but the last like 2 episodes of Hemlock Grove, everything happens all at once.
Right.
And it just kind of blows up everywhere. And I love it for its cheesy campiness. But, yeah, I feel like it's probably similar to that.
Yep. So, the fall lineup comes back September, October-ish.
Yes.
Depending on the show. There were a couple other shows that start up then, too. I can't remember.
I'm excited for the new Robin Williams sitcom.
Yes.
Right.
I think that's coming out.
That looks
really, really, really funny.
So I think episode 3 will actually go ahead and talk a bit more about some of the fall lineup.
And some other TV shows and stuff like that. We're interviewing.
We are going to be interviewing in episode 3 the Reckless Freaks. They're Seattle-based sideshow carny-type people. There's a reason why they're called the Reckless Freaks, which you will find out in episode 3 when we bring them on the podcast.
Ooh,
they're awesome.
Cliffhanger.
Ooh.
It's like M. Night Shyamalan. There's got to be a twist.
Shamalama Ding Dong.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah. Is there any plugs anyone wants to throw out there? Anything at all? September 22nd, Nerdvana will be at Odd Mall, Seattle, which is taking place at the Linwood Convention Center. August 23rd, Mike and Ismus presents Stalingrad at the High Line. Starts at 8 or 9 o'clock. Come out. Particle Sun will be there. I will be vending.
She'll have pretties.
I will have pretties.
And if you haven't gone and checked it out on their Facebook yet, go check out my buddy Ron's new LARP. It's called Spite. It'll be sci-fi alien things of death. It's not going out until late 2014, but you can get all the information about characters you can play, mods you can do, the storyline, that kind of thing. Get your feel for it.
One of the actresses I am working with on the web series I'm going to be shooting in September, which won't be released until February, so everybody has to wait now that I talk about it. And I hate the fact that I'm making everybody wait. She was just recently in a web series that actually, in my opinion, is halfway decent. It's called Still. I will link it on the Facebook. It's a horror web series, running in the similar vein as, like, Day of the Triffids, it's another one, it's kind of The Thing, the original The Thing, just kind of really, suspense horror driven, so it's not very gory or anything like that, and it's more about the story than anything else. So I will post links so you guys can check that out, and you can see the great Tabitha Bastian will be in it. In episode 5, her character story arc starts. So,
before I forget again, by the way, Epic, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Epic. I'm a nerd. Let's see. What am I talking about myself? What do we want to know?
Let people know a little bit about yourself.
He sounds big and scary, but he's actually like 4'3" and strong.
He's a teddy bear.
I'm actually 6'2" and 230 pounds.
He's still a big teddy bear.
But I'm still a big teddy bear. That explains the big voice. You know, it's soothing.
It rumbles.
No. Let's see. I'm Epic. I mean, what else is there? I earned that name, by the way.
How did you earn that name?
Because everything I do is epic, especially failing.
He can recite Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. So
no.
by association,
cooking. That's how he earned it.
It's actually. I think Grimm's got it right there. It's with my cooking. I am a fantastic cook. I can cook anything.
If I didn't have my metabolism, I'd be fat because of him.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
All right, so welcome, Epic, everybody.
Yes,
And,
he will be joining us.
Every once in a while. I'm
Yes, when he can.
So Nerdvana signing out. This is Alicia Ish.
Neme.
Tachibana.
Lilith.
Epic.
And Grim.
who finally showed up.
Traffic
Hopefully,
sucks.
again, next week we will
Especially
be
when you're
interviewing the Reckless Freaks. Go ahead and check out their page. Send us any of your questions you'd like us to ask them. We will also be at Oddmall Seattle, so come find us, harass us, get interviewed by us. We will definitely talk more about that in episode 3, as episode 4 is going to be filmed at Oddmall. So, yay. Yeah, I do believe that is it.
Sadly, due to content, when we actually video film, we will not be naked. Sorry,
Yes,
folks.
we will not be naked
No
for any
naked.
videos.
I mean, we're gonna be in public and stuff.
They tend
So-
to
I
frown on
think there's
this.
laws against that.
They have like those signs that say no shirt, no shoes, no service. It's
Yeah,
kind
but
of
you
a
can
problem.
Yeah, no shirt, no shoes, no podcast.
Also, for our next episode, if you've got any opinions on anything we talked about, if you think there's anything we should talk about, anything we should talk about less, be sure to let us know. So, private message us or comment on our Facebook or send us hate mail at our Gmail account, either way. And check out our awesome website that Alicia's been working on and making look so pretty.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
It looks so pretty.
So, have a great one, nerds.
Excelsior!